बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अस्सलाम वालेकुम एंड अ वेरी गुड इवनिंग। मैं हूं वजाहत सईद खान और आप देख रहे हैं आज टीवी की स्पेशल ट्रांसमिशन ऑन द अमेरिकन इलेक्शंस। अमेरिका डिसाइड्स बट पाकिस्तान ब्रेसेस फॉर इम्पैक्ट। आज पूरी रात आज टीवी के जरिए आपको पाकिस्तानी पर्सपेक्टिव मिलेगा अबाउट द यूएस इलेक्शंस। इलेक्शंस दो बहुत बड़ी बहुत पुरानी पार्टियों के बीच में हैं। अमेरिका में दो पार्टी निज़ाम है, पाकिस्तान में तो माशाल्लाह से तकरीबन हर तीसरे दिन एक चौथी पार्टी होती है। बट इन दो पार्टियों का आपस में जो चक्कर है, हाउ डज दैट इफेक्ट द इस्लामिक रिपब्लिक ऑफ पाकिस्तान? हमारी पूरी रात जो ट्रांसमिशन रहेगी विल ट्राई टू फोकस ऑन द अमेरिकन इलेक्शंस, मगर फ्रॉम अ पाकिस्तानी पर्सपेक्टिव। पाकिस्तान के लिए इन इलेक्शंस का क्या मतलब है? I have a very busy hour ahead of me. मेरे साथ एक स्टार स्टडेड पैनल है। पहली हमारी स्टार, हमारी कॉलीग, हमारी बहन, हमारी co-anchor Alina Shigri is going to be with us. Alina is, I have to say, the first time we're doing this together. Alina, I'm very excited about it. It's going to be a long night, and I know you've been working on a lot of data, by the way, and I know you're our main number cruncher. तो आप हमारी mathematical electoral whiz भी हैं, और आप हमें ये भी बताएंगी कि इलेक्टोरल कॉलेज, भाई हमने यूनिवर्सिटी तो गलती से पढ़ ली थी, इलेक्टोरल कॉलेज क्या होता है? That's going to be your thing. On the left corner, one of the best dressed diplomats, and there's a couple of them. It's going to be a quick tie because the next guest is right up there with you, Zafar Hilali. I love the studs, I love the jacket. I want the opinion today, sir. कि क्या है? Why are we wasting our time with these two guys? What's going to be the difference? ये आप हमें बताएंगे. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And from Lahore है, of course, and Lahore without him नहीं है. His name is Khurshid Mahmood Kasuri, one of the most dignified diplomats this country has ever produced. Also, once again, one of the best dressed. I think he's up there with Zafar Hilali. And of course, one of the most influential, left his mark 2000s में, of course, आप हमारे foreign minister थे under the Musharraf administration. बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ आने का कसूरी साहब. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your program.
It's always a pleasure to have you, sir. And last but not least, थोड़ी ही देर में एक special diplomat guest अमरीकी सफारत खाने से हमारे साथ होंगे. I'm going to get straight to business. Kasuri Saab, considering you're the furthest off, we're going to start with you because I think that's what etiquette requires. Kasuri Saab, पाकिस्तान को इस इलेक्शन से क्या एक्सपेक्ट करना चाहिए, और आज हम पूरी रात क्यों जागें और देखेंगे क्या हो रहा है? बेसिक मुझे 101 सवाल चाहिए.
देखिए, आप ही नहीं जागेंगे, बीजिंग में भी लोग जागेंगे, जो कि एक दूसरी सुपर पावर के तौर पर इमर्ज हो रहा है. अमेरिका वाहिद सुपर पावर अब तक है, और पाकिस्तान का अफगानिस्तान की वजह से एक ख़ास रिश्ता है अमेरिका के साथ. और पाकिस्तान में अमन, स्टेबिलिटी, इस्तेहकाम और उसमें जो प्रोग्रेस होनी है, तरक्की करनी है, उसका दारोमदार इस बात पे है कि अफगानिस्तान में 2014 के बाद क्या हालात होंगे और पाकिस्तान का उसमें क्या रोल होगा. और अमेरिका और पाकिस्तान अगर इसको मिल के कुछ इस सिलसिले में कर सकते हैं तो पाकिस्तान के लिए बहुत बेहतर होगा. ये 2014 पोस्ट 2014 सिनारियो, जितनी कीमत हमने अदा की है, जितनी डिस्टेबलाइजेशन पाकिस्तान में हुई है, मुझे आपको बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं. हमारी मईशत तकरीबन तबाह हो गई है, उसमें हमारे हुक्मरानों की नाअहली भी है, लेकिन जो इलाके में इंस्टेबिलिटी है उसका बहुत गहरा उस पर असर है. इसलिए मैं ये समझता हूँ कि आज लोग जो रात जाग रहे हैं, सिर्फ इस्लामाबाद में नहीं बल्कि दुनिया के दूसरे कैपिटल्स में भी जाग रहे हैं.
वाओ. इस समरी को काउंटर करें हिलाली साहब. डू यू एग्री विद द फॉर्मर फॉरेन मिनिस्टर? क्या कहते हैं आप? आप जरा से पेसिमिस्टिक रहे हैं इस इलेक्शन के बारे में. आई मीन, हम पिछले एक महीने से साथ काम कर रहे हैं इस पे. यू बीन अ लिटिल नॉट अंडर द वेदर पर्सनली बट पॉलिटिकली अबाउट दिस.
देखिए, मेरा अपना ख्याल ये है कि अमेरिका का प्लान एक बन चुका है पाकिस्तान के बारे में, और उनका सबसे बड़ा इंटरेस्ट जो पाकिस्तान में है वो है जो उन्होंने नेशनल सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल के डॉक्यूमेंट में उन्होंने रिकॉर्ड किया था, और जो आज आप देख सकेंगे पेज 348 पे ओबामाज वॉर्स की किताब जो बॉब वुडवर्ड, वो एक नेशनल सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल का एक डॉक्यूमेंट है. उन्होंने कहा कि हमारा पूरा मकसद जो है पाकिस्तान और अफगानिस्तान में दो हैं, एक अल-कायदा اور خاص طور بن لادن کو ختم کرنا, اور دوسرا ان کا الفاظ یہ تھا کہ سیکیور پاکستان's نیوکس. اس ڈاکیومنٹ میں اٹیکس آن پاکستان بھی ایک لفظ ہے, اٹیکس لفظ استعمال کیا گیا ہے, سیکیور دا نیوکس. تو جب یہ ڈسکشن ہو رہی تھی کہ کس طریقے سے وہ آگے بڑھیں, تو بائیڈن صاحب نے یہ اسپیل آؤٹ کیا کہ یہ تو ہمارا واضح پالیسی ہے, اوسامہ اینڈ پاکستان's نیوکس. اب میرا کہنا یہ ہے کہ اگر یہ پالیسی بھی یہ آ جائے, رومنی آ جائیں اور وہ بھی اس پہ ہی چلیں, تو ایک تو ہو گیا ہے نا جی, اوسامہ تو چلے گیا ہے, بن لادن کا ختم ہو گیا ہے, کیا کہتے ہیں القاعدہ پاکستان میں ڈسپرس اور ختم ہو گیا ہے. اب رہ گیا ہے, اب ڈیکیپیٹیٹ ہو گیا ہے اور پھیل گیا ہے اور نکل بھی گیا ہے یمن اور ادھر ادھر. اب رہ گیا ہے پاکستان کے نیوکس. اب اگر یہ پالیسی بھی رومنی اڈاپٹ کریں, چلیے اس کو کہہ دیتے ہیں کہ یہ پالیسی نہیں بدلے گا, دا سیکیورٹی آف پاکستان's نیوکس جو CIA اور پینٹاگن نے کہا ہے وہ رہے گا. اب آتا ہے کہ یہ کس طریقے سے آپ سیکیور کریں گے.
ٹھیک,
2-3 طریقے ہیں, اور میری ڈر یہ ہے کہ ڈیسٹیبلائزیشن اور دی فریئنگ آف پاکستان جو چل رہا ہے, ایک تو وہ طریقہ ہے جو سوویت یونین کے بعد جیسے آپ کو پتا ہوا, یا آ کے وہ کیپچر کریں اعلی اوباما, یا کیا, یہ ہم جاننا چاہتے ہیں کہ نیا آدمی آئے گا تو کیا کر سکتا ہے.
ٹھیک, اگلا جو سیکشن ہے وہ ذرا سا ڈفرنٹ ہوگا. آپ نے پاکستانی پرسپیکٹو تو سنا, but we're going to get 2 other perspectives. One, of course, from our in-house number cruncher, the fantastic Alina Shigri. And دوسرا, of course, we're going to get you the American perspective. امریکی خود کیا کہتے ہیں, امریکی نیریٹو خود کیا ہے. پاکستان تو بھائی سب کو بولنے کا شوق ہے اس ملک میں, ہر محفل میں ڈرائنگ روم پالیٹکس ہوتی ہے, بٹ واٹ آر دی امیریکنز themselves saying. ہارسز ماؤتھ سے آپ سنیں گے. امریکی ایک ٹاپ ڈپلومیٹ ہم آپ کی ابھی تھوڑی دیر میں ملاقات کرواتے ہیں. Stay tuned to Aaj News. Don't go anywhere. America decides, but Pakistan braces for impact. ادھر ریس ہے وائٹ ہاؤس کی, مگر کہتے ہیں کہ وائٹ ہاؤس کا جو ونر ہوگا, جو وہ ریس جیتے گا, اس کا امپیکٹ شاید وزیرستان تک ہے, شاید کراچی تک ہے. یہ ہماری تھیم ہے. اس سے پہلے کہ ہم آگے بڑھیں, ذرا سا ایک جسے کہتے ہیں 101 لے لیں, ذرا سے آپ ایک لارجر پرسپیکٹو لے لیں about the elections themselves. Alina, you've been doing our special interactive reporting on this. ذرا سا ہمیں quickly بتائیں, یہ 2 پارٹیز ہیں کیا, 8-9 پارٹیز کیوں نہیں ہیں, اور یہ صدارتی الیکشن کیا ہوتا ہے, اور یہ الیکٹورل کالج کیا ہوتا ہے, اور آج رات ہم اتنے مطلب دیر کیوں لگتی ہے, چکر کیا ہے, اسٹیٹس کیا ہیں, ریاستیں کیا ہیں, ذرا سا تھوڑا سا بیک گراؤنڈ دیں.
بالکل, میں یہاں پہ بتاتے چلوں, جو 2 کینڈیڈیٹس, یہ ایک وائٹ ہاؤس کی ریس ہے جو کہ 2 کینڈیڈیٹس کے بیچ میں ہے. ایک ڈیموکریٹک پارٹی کو جو ہے ریپرزینٹ کر رہے ہیں, دوسرے جو ہے ریپبلکن پارٹی جو ان کی گرینڈ اولڈ پارٹی ہے, ان کو ان کی نامنی ہے جو کہ مٹ رومنی ہے, براک اوباما ہے. اس کے ساتھ ساتھ ہی یہاں پر جو پاپولر ووٹ کی بات کی جاتی ہے, جو ان کے نیشنل پولز ہوتے ہیں, جس میں عوام جو ہے اپنے ووٹس کاسٹ کرتی ہے, اس کے علاوہ وہ تمام چیزیں تو ایکیومولیٹ ہو رہا ہوتا ہے. دیٹ از دا رسپانس اگینسٹ کہ کس کو عوام ان کی جو ہے ایز اے پریزیڈنٹ دیکھتے مانگتے ہیں. لیکن یہاں پر الیکٹورل کالج جو ان کا یونیک امریکن انسٹیٹیوشن ہے, ان کے جو ووٹس ہیں جو کہ 538 الیکٹرز ہیں, ان کے ووٹس جو ہے وہ زیادہ اصل کاؤنٹ کرتے ہیں, کیونکہ obviously جس امیدوار کو 270 ان کی لمٹ ہوتی ہے, the magic number is definitely considered as 270 because any of the candidate who receives 270 again becomes the president of the country. تو یہ اصل میں یہ چیز جو دونوں کے درمیان ہمیں ریس نظر آ رہی ہے وہ الیکٹورل کالج میں جا کے فائنلی ڈیپینڈ کرے گی, اور الیکٹورل کالج جو ہے ڈیسائیڈ کرے گا کہ پریزیڈنٹ کون بنتا ہے.
ٹھیک ہے, اس سے پہلے وہ تو امریکہ ڈیسائیڈ کرے گا, بٹ ایک اور امریکی پرسپیکٹو, we are joined by a very special guest. It's an honor to be with him. ابھی ہمارے ساتھ آن لائن آئے ہیں Michael Dodman, the Consul General of the United States of America to the beautiful city of Karachi. A very good evening to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Waj. It's great to be with you.
Mr. Dodman, I'm going to get straight to business. Little birdie tells me, who happens to be my researcher, that you were at the stock exchange earlier today. Guess you've had a busy few hours before this, so thanks for making time. In fact, we're also told that you've got to go back into an event. But I'm going to get straight to business. Why should Pakistan be watching these elections? And I know you guys have been very busy across the board in Lahore and Karachi and Islamabad with your own public diplomacy campaign about this. But once again, in layman's terms, why should we be watching these elections? How does it affect Pakistan?
Well, I think, thanks, first of all, for having me on the show. And yes, we have been very busy trying to talk about the America elections, and not only to explain the candidates, not only to explain the question you've asked about the impact, but really to explain our system. Alina was just talking about the Electoral College, and I've just finished an event with about 250 students from schools around Karachi, where we've spent a few hours talking about exactly those questions. How does our system work? How does the Electoral College work? What is this red versus blue states question? Why is Ohio so important? It was a great event because it was with the youth of Pakistan, and we could really sort of explain why, how American democracy functions. So that's really an answer to your question. I mean, this election is important in part because it's a symbol of how our democracy works. We're very proud of our democracy. Obviously, what's important about this election as well is who's going to be our president. And that's important for Pakistan, that's important across the world. But our main role over the past few days and the events that you mentioned in the different cities really is to talk about how democracy functions in the U.S. and you know, give some insights into this election that's going on right now.
Right. Now, sir, you've started a new initiative, also according to my notes. You've started a new initiative called A Conversation with Pakistan. Is that right? What's that about?
Yes, we've been trying to use social media to get myself out, literally, more out of the consulate and talk with the folks in Pakistan, specifically Sindh and Balochistan that we cover from Karachi.
Right. Well, I mean, social media is totally and truly awesome and empowering, but considering we are conventional media, we're going to be a little old school about this, and we're going to open up this debate to a couple of other folks here. You're joined, of course, by two very distinguished former diplomats. One is, of course, with me in the studio, former ambassador of Pakistan, Mr. Zafar Hilali. The other one is the very distinguished foreign minister of Pakistan, Mr. Kasuri. Mr. Hilali and Mr. Kasuri, I'm sure, want to join the conversation as well. So I'm going to open this debate up a little. Mr. Hilali, a few minutes ago, had a certain perspective about the American narrative. He said that it's already formed. It doesn't really matter who's going to be in charge of the U.S. That narrative is already stagnant. And Mr. Kasuri had something even more interesting to add. I'm going to go back to Lahore and to Mr. Kasuri and let him take over. Maybe he has a couple of things to add to this. Sir?
Well, I would like to contribute, but I couldn't hear the American friend on the other side.
I am going to get that fixed. I'm going to get that problem fixed, Kasuri Saab, and I'm going to get right back into Karachi studios while we get that fixed. Hilali Saab, you had a certain perspective. Let's fill in the Consul General on that.
Yes, Mr. Consul General, good to hear you again. I wanted to ask you, do you really, the general feeling here is that there is not much of a difference in policy towards Pakistan, or there won't be, between Obama and Romney. But here's what I think. I think that may be true, but I think it's how they proceed to their objective which is important. I mean, for example, if you have an objective, the question is how do you approach it? What are the atmospherics? What is the manner? How do you pave the way, so to speak? And that is what I think is important enough for Pakistan to be concerned about who comes to power. Would you agree?
Thank you, Ambassador. It's good to be on with you. I certainly agree, based on my 25 years as a diplomat, having served overseas through a number of transitions, whether from Democrat to Republican or vice versa, that in fact U.S. foreign policy on the whole does not shift hugely from one side to the other. So I think your general point is right. The narrative continues for the most part, but obviously there are individual differences that come up in each administration. We will find out tomorrow, you know, who is going to be whether President Obama will continue or President Romney, and then we'll be able to talk about some of the specifics. In terms of Pakistan, I think that both candidates have taken a very strong, consistent approach towards Pakistan and towards the region. I don't expect we're going to see much difference, I think we will continue, no matter who is the winner of the election going on right now, we'll continue to focus on the core issues that, at least here in Karachi, I'm focusing on, which is broadening our partnership with Pakistan, trying to promote trade, promote investment, cultural exchanges, and that sort of thing. I don't think those approaches, as you put it, are going to change significantly in the months ahead.
All right, I'm still trying to work on my audio with Foreign Minister Kasuri, but I'm going to give it a ping. Foreign Minister, can you hear me, sir? Kasuri Saab, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very easily. I was saying I couldn't hear the American Consul General.
Did you catch him?
Now I could hear part of his conversation.
Do you want to add to his narrative or counter it, Kasuri Saab?
Well, I heard very small portion of his conversation in which he was saying that it didn't really matter which of the two parties got in, which of the two people got in, because he was focused on certain work which he was telling us about Pakistan. To an extent, of course, that is correct. But every new administration does take some initiatives. For example, I dealt for 5 years with the Bush administration. And I know that there was a certain approach. People normally say that individuals do not matter. My experience was slightly different. Whereas, of course, there are lots of think tanks and there is a lot of structure to foreign policy making in the United States. But still, you can get a lot of input. How you use that input is very important. And I think no two human beings can be exactly the same. So there may be minor differences, but as far as Pakistan-American relations are concerned, my impression was, that is my experience at least, that both countries are very important for each other, particularly in view of the situation in Afghanistan, the post-2014 scenario, and the position of Pakistan in South Asia itself. So I would feel that whereas, of course, it wouldn't matter fundamentally, the important thing for Pakistan is us setting our own house in order. That is more important, the governance factor. Now, if we can do that, Pakistan is a very important country anyway. And no administration would like to keep Pakistan out of the loop if we could have a minimum degree of understanding on the priorities of the two countries in Afghanistan. And unless we can do that, I don't think there's going to be peace in Afghanistan. Now, after all, what is it that the Americans say they want? They say they want peace in Afghanistan. For Pakistan, peace is vital in Afghanistan. We paid a major price. Now, the only way that will come about is if Taliban are brought into the loop and if there's a talk between Taliban, Karzai and the Americans. Pakistan says it's prepared to do that. I have some reason to believe that some talks have already started between Pakistan and America. It's not being advertised, but I'm happy, or so I was told, that a degree of understanding has not, although it's not been reached, but tentative efforts are being made to understand each other's priorities in Afghanistan. And if they can be accommodated, I think it will be good for all concerned.
Right. Interesting point of view. I'm going to bring in Alina Shigri here. She has a couple of things on her mind. Alina?
Welcome, Wajad. I was about to say, like we've been talking, how Pakistan will be affected from the most important elections, and this kind of sentiments that we find in Pakistan amongst the Pakistani masses towards their president, the current president, whoever comes forth. What is Washington expecting from Pakistan this time around?
Let's take that. Let's take that to Mr. Dodman. Did you hear Alina, sir? Did you get? You think you want to add value to that question?
I have to admit, I couldn't hear Alina that well. Could you repeat the question?
Sir, I've been trying to say that the kind of sentiments that we find in Pakistan amongst the masses towards for America and American people, I would like to ask you, like this time around, what is Washington expecting from Pakistan?
Well, okay, I'll speak from my perspective here in Karachi. I've been here just a few months. I've found that the response that I've seen of Pakistanis that I've met here towards America has all been positive. I go back to the hundreds of kids that we had here tonight learning about the U.S. election process. And I think from where I sit here, that's what America would like from Pakistan, is basically an opportunity for a dialogue, for a back and forth discussion. Pakistanis, learning more about U.S. culture, and ideally Americans learning more about Pakistani culture. Recall, I'm sitting here in Karachi running a consulate, not sitting up in Islamabad working on some of the higher level policy issues that are taking place in the capital.
That's very and thoroughly diplomatic of you, sir, but I'm just gonna try to take this to the next level. I have two distinct sets of quotes here from both the presidential candidates. Now I know you can't take a partisan position, and I'm not going to put you in that position. But the bottom line is, considering both candidates, the bottom line is that it seems that there's actually, surprisingly, convergence on Pakistan from both parties. Pakistan is like the anti-Israel of the parties, in the sense that both candidates have said that Israel is our strongest ally in the Middle East. In that case, both candidates have also agreed on something very dissimilar about Pakistan. That Pakistan, in so many words, is problematic. Pakistan is technically an ally, but doesn't act like an ally. And it just seems that there's also been, unfortunately, there's been convergence on thorny issues, like, for example, the drone program. There's been convergence on other issues. I'm not going to once again ask you to take a partisan position on this, but the bottom line is that as the Consulate General in Karachi, what's the trade versus aid angle? I know you guys are not going to talk about drones. I know, I understand my brief, but our finance minister, for example, has recently said that, listen, give us that textile quota and we'll be fine. We don't need all that aid you guys throw around. How's that going from a Karachi man's perspective, considering I'm going to call you Karachi man because you technically are one these days?
Yeah, okay. Let me say, first of all, I agree with the premise of the question. I think that on Pakistan, the two candidates have been very similar. I also watched the foreign policy debate, the last of the three debates. There was no question that there was very little difference that I saw between the two candidates when it came to Pakistan. So what I'm expecting going forward, as I said, regardless of the victor tonight, is that we're going to continue to work on a relationship with Pakistan that's based on our mutual interests, and that gets exactly to your question on trade and economic development, and that's what I've been talking about. If your friends who were at the Karachi Stock Exchange this morning heard me talking about the exact same thing. We have got a lot of programs that are available to promote trade and investment. We are working here through the consulate in Karachi and our other offices in Pakistan to make sure that those programs are well known. I'm talking about things like the generalized system of preferences, rather technical programs that are designed to give Pakistani firms the opportunity to export to the United States duty-free. And we're going to continue working with those no matter who wins the election tonight.
Right. Well, I sure hope so, but I think Mr. Hilali, before our previous break, had a couple of problems with the U.S. narrative as far as the preferential trade agreements, etc. are concerned, the textile quota, the IMF. Ambassador?
Well, we are talking, should I do it in English?
Yeah.
We are talking about reconciling our views after a long, long relationship, and over the past 10 years we've had this Afghan issue. And we are still talking about reconciling our views. Does that mean we've made no progress? And actually, one of the reasons why I think we continue to keep back and keep harping about our disagreements is that we don't get it out of the way by accepting that these disagreements are fundamental. We have a disagreement on China, how to approach, how to talk, and what to do. We have an approach on Iran, which is totally different from the US approach. We have an approach on India. We completely don't think, for example, that India should be dragged into the Afghanistan melee, because we feel that is something that it would be not in our favor. Now the question is, rather than keep talking and battering your head against a wall on these issues, let's accept that our paths diverge.
Wow. I'm going to take that straight to, I'm going to take that because I've got just a couple of minutes left. Got to let everybody have a say. That's a great thought to end on. Kasuri Saab, Angrezi mein agar aap kare, hum appreciate karenge because our diplomatic guest also needs to understand this. It seems that Ambassador Hilali has used the D word, diverge. The two presidential candidates the other day also used an interesting word, divorce. There was another interesting word used, drones. It seems that these D words are going to be, once again, the death of the Pakistani-US bilateral relationship. Do you want to end really quickly on this for us? Is it time for us to divorce America as well, considering that there's frankly no partisan choice Pakistan faces, considering the debate tonight?
Even we have differences on many issues, there is a very fundamental area on which we have to agree if there is to be peace in Afghanistan, and if America is to get out of Afghanistan with a degree of self-esteem. And the end game in Afghanistan will have a major bearing on peace and stability in Pakistan itself. So I think both countries at least have a fundamental interest here. Even on India, when I was foreign minister, I remember that on the back channel, United States played a helping role. I mean, neither Pakistan nor India wanted them to play an open role. So I think whereas there are differences, and definitely on Iran, for example, on how to handle Iran, even when I was foreign minister, I tried my best and we did not vote in Vienna the way Americans wanted, and the Indians voted the same way.
Right.
So there are fundamental differences, but there are also areas of convergence.
Right.
And I think it's in our interest to focus on that as well. Otherwise, there will be no peace in the area.
Right.
And I think there is scope for that, and it is in the interest of both that they work towards that. And after all, what does Pakistan want?
Right.
What Pakistan would like, if I were foreign minister, I would be pushing for talks. After the Americans have started talks, they first tried to keep Pakistan out of it in Qatar, for example.
Right.
But it does show an indication that the Americans wanted to talk to the Taliban. It didn't make progress, but that's not...
Foreign Minister, I'm going to have to cut you off. I'm going to have to cut you off, sir. I'm going to take this to our last word, and I'm going to give it, as a good Pakistani, I'm going to give it to our guest. I'm going to give it to the good Consul General. Sir, let's end on a happy diplomatic note. Once again, what's the bottom line? Why should Pakistanis be watching this? Why should they be listening to you right now?
Well, thank you for giving me the last word. I think that what's happening in the United States right now, particularly after the devastation of the storm we had last week, is just a real testament to our democracy. As a diplomat working around the world, I really truly believe that our democracy is the foundation of what makes America a great country. Our democracy is different than other democracies around the world, but I think it is an example. So that's what we were doing tonight with the students. That's the message I want to pass along to the listeners. Let me just end on the divorce word, because I really strongly believe that the last thing America and Pakistan need is anything to bring us further apart. We need to come closer together, whether it's through trade, whether it's through travel, cultural, educational exchanges. We really need to keep working on that, and that's what we're going to be doing here in Karachi.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. I am going to let Alina, my co-host, have the last word on it. Alina, why don't you tell us, और उर्दू में बताइए ताकि हम सबको, जो हम गरीब लोग हैं, हमें समझ, बाकियों को समझ आ जाए कि आज रात क्या होने वाला है.
आज रात हमारी ट्रांसमिशन में डेफिनेटली वी गोइंग टू टेक अ स्नैपशॉट ऑफ द स्टेट्स, और उस वक्त जो दोनों कैंडिडेट्स हैं उनकी पोजीशंस क्या होंगी. अपेरेंटली ओबामा हैज द अपेरेंट लीड, और चार जो आउट ऑफ द 5 बैटल ग्राउंड्स कंसिडर किए जा रहे हैं वो स्टेट्स में ओबामा और डेमोक्रेट्स को बरतरी इस वक्त कहा जा रहा है कि हासिल है. पलड़ा डेमोक्रेट्स का भारी नजर आ रहा है. और इसके साथ साथ ही हम यहाँ पर ये भी बताते चलें कि ओहायो जो कि उनका बका स्टेट है, उसके हवाले से कहा जा रहा है कि 18 इलेक्टोरल्स क्योंकि वहां पर से होते हैं, तो ओबामा इज रियली नॉट not concerned about getting Ohio because he's already gotten the edge. اور اتنا زیادہ prominent lead ابھی بھی neck and neck consider کیا جا رہا ہے according to survey polls, according to analysis, according to the polls جو کہ ہمیں correspondents بھی ہمیں update کرتے رہے ہیں. تو اس وجہ سے کہا جا رہا ہے کہ neck and neck contest تو رہے گا, close race ہے, but let's see کیا ہونے جا رہا ہے.
And میری bottom line یہ ہے کہ ریس ہوگی close, مگر ہمارا کیا مطلب ہے بھائی, ہم کیا کریں؟ Why should be we sitting here and watching this development all night? And my bottom line is because America still matters. Alina, thank you. Gentlemen, thank you. Ambassador, Consul General, Foreign Minister, bahut bahut shukriya. Thank you for being with us. Once again, I know you broke the rules and made time, Consul General. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to working with the American diplomatic mission and finding out more about the curious case of American diplomacy. آپ پاکستان میں آج ٹی وی کی خصوصی ٹرانسمیشن اور امریکہ میں بھی جاری رہے گی. آج رات 11 سے 1 بجے پھر ملاقات ہوگی اور کل صبح 4 بجے آنورڈز ٹل امریکہ گیٹس اے نیو اور اے رینیوڈ پریزیڈنٹ. میں ہوں وجاد سعید خان, ہمیں اجازت دیں.